What is the update in the Russia-India relationship? Is India falling into the American camp? Amisha says, Russian deputy foreign minister says, hopes India-Russia ties won't suffer and USA is trying to ban India. Maybe Russia is worried that India may slowly reduce its oil imports. Also, India exits a Russia-backed Mali lithium project. Has the US secured a geopolitical victory? Will Delhi-Moscow relations suffer? Look, what does the US want from India? The US wants India bending the knee. The US wants India becoming their vassal. That's what the Americans want. It's plain and clear, plain and simple, no question about it. India does not want to become anyone's vassal. So India is resisting this. Okay? India is resisting. The Americans are pushing for this. So what is the situation? India has recently gone ahead, like we discussed, and signed this framework for an interim trade deal with the US. And the terms we have secured are reasonably good compared to what other US allies have secured. So it's overall good. But what did we have to give up in exchange? One thing is Chabahar. We have walked out of it, it looks like. We have liquidated our stake in the Chabahar port, paid the money to Iran and walked out, it looks like. Yeah, that's one thing. Secondly, it looks like the Americans are insisting that India will not buy any more Russian oil. And the White House put out a different set of different documents in which clause 4 or something says that the US will set up a monitoring situation that will monitor India's activities, and if India resumes any kind of purchase of Russian oil, whether it is direct or indirect, then the Americans will reimpose 25% tariffs on India. So I'm not sure if this was agreed upon in the trade deal. Maybe this is something that's external to the trade deal, but the Americans once again are using their leverage upon us, and they are insisting that India will not buy Russian oil anymore. Now the question is, the Indian government is in a dilemma. This was not part of the trade deal, possibly, because the joint statement says nothing about Russian oil. So it looks like this was not part of the trade deal, but the Americans are putting it in through the back door, through something that's external to the trade deal. That they're going to set up a monitoring situation, whatever, monitoring center. They'll monitor Indian activities. Who the hell are they? They are the hegemon of the world. They're the superpower. They can do it. That's the hell who the hell they are, right? So they will do it. And if India purchases even one tanker worth of Russian oil, then 25% tariffs back on India. So that puts India into a very tough situation. What does India do? One thing India can do is stop purchasing Russian oil, but then you lose your so-called strategic autonomy. And it's not exactly vassalhood, but it's one step along the road to becoming a vassal. It's one step. It's not all the way vassalhood. But once you start accepting external pressures as to what you will do, before the 2024 election, parliamentary election, general election, Prime Minister Modi had given a bunch of interviews, right, to various media outlets. In one of these interviews, Prime Minister Modi had said that whatever happens, India does not accept third-party pressure or third-party directions as to what to do in any bilateral relationship. So let's say we have a relationship with, let's say, India and Russia. We will not accept any third-party instructions as to how to behave, like US instructions. That's the kind of thing he had said. And here, if India actually agrees to what the Americans are insisting, then that independence clearly is gone. And now we are, even in Chabahar, the Americans are insisting we stop playing the game. So we've pulled out. Once again, the Americans are deciding what we do. So we are kind of not bending the knee completely, not caving in completely, but we are kind of bowing down to a small extent. And you know what? Maybe it's a temporary thing. Maybe we'll do it for a while, and maybe we will hide our strength and bide our time, like Deng Xiaoping had said for China. So that's a valid strategy in geopolitics. When you are weak, you show that you're weak, and yes, sir, we will do what you say. But don't give up the core red lines of your strategic autonomy and sovereignty. So, what's the update on the India-Russia relationship? It remains to be seen. I think the Russians are concerned. The Russians have offered various things to India. They've offered the Sukhoi 57. I'm not sure if it's the best aircraft. Maybe the Rafale is a good idea. I'm not sure if the Rafale deal is the best deal, or maybe it is. I don't know. But the Russians wanted India to go for the Sukhoi 57. We've had issues with Russian equipment in the past, with the MiG-29s and maybe even the Sukhoi 30s, availability of spares and engine serviceability issues and so on. So maybe the Rafale may be actually a better deal. compared to the Sukhoi 57. Even the Russians operate only 20 or so Sukhoi 57s. So if it's something the Russians have adopted in large numbers, then we will be confident it's a good plane. So there are issues. So that's why we have gone for the Rafale. The Russians obviously would have preferred we buy their aircraft. They were apparently offering full technology transfer, but once again, we have faced issues with Russia in the past regarding these things, whether it is aircraft carriers, whether it is fighter planes, and so other things. So one has to be careful, right? Um, Overall, I would say the India-Russia relationship is very important for India. India can't afford to, jump into the American lap, into the American camp and abandon Russia. Doesn't make sense for India to do that. Uh, of course, the US pressure will be intense. The pressure will be felt by our officials behind the scenes. It will not be visible to us. Mali lithium project also, there is this issue, right? Is there an American angle in there as well? So if this continues, if this pattern continues, then perhaps India-Russia relations may suffer, right? If India genuinely stops purchasing Russian oil, it doesn't look like we have done that so far. But if we are not doing that, then we will see 25% tariffs being slapped back upon us very soon. So we'll have to see. If tariffs aren't slapped by Donald Trump, 25% on India, then it means that India has actually stopped purchasing Russian oil, which will be a significant concession to the Americans. And it will, of course, be a setback for Russia. It will also be, to some extent, a setback to India-Russia relations, right? So I think it's still too early to say whether the Americans have secured this geopolitical victory of forcing India to stop purchasing Russian oil, the way they have forced in the past India to stop buying Venezuelan oil in 2010 or thereabouts, and later Iranian oil. Have they now forced India to stop buying Russian oil? If they have, then it's a significant setback for India and for Russia and for India-Russia relations. I think we need to wait and watch. It's too early to pass judgment on this matter. But it looks like at least some of their pressure is having an effect on India. So let's see. Too early to say.